chicken nuggets, fish balls, and sausages. They're part of a lot of our favorite dishes. But not only are these foods processed, they're all known as ultra-processed foods. We're definitely eating more of it. Singapore's largest supermarket chain FairPrice says sales of processed meat and seafood products increased 10% in just 1 year.
Ooh. You know, I'm not the biggest fan of ultra-processed food, but I know my kids definitely are. Yet, I have no clue what goes into the making of all of these. So in this episode, I want to find out exactly what it is we're putting into our bodies.
Ultra-processed foods simply means foods that are typically made up of 5 or more ingredients and has gone through significant industrial processing. They generally contain high amounts of sugar, salt, saturated fat, and additives such as stabilizers and preservatives. So it's not surprising that studies have suggested that eating too much of it is associated to higher risk of heart disease and in some cases even stroke. Every 10% increase in consumption of ultra-processed foods is also associated with a 12% higher risk of cancer.
I want Singaporeans to start eating more healthily. But before I do that, I first need to find out just how much ultra-processed food Singaporeans are eating, who's eating it, and what kinds of food are we devouring.
I'm collaborating with statistics students from the Singapore Management University.
We are going to need your help to go and figure out just how many of us in Singapore are eating all this ultra-processed food.
They'll be helping me conduct an island-wide study, the first of its kind to dig deep into our hunger for processed food.
Can you help us with a survey regarding processed food?
Like, at what age did you start eating them? These sort of processed foods? Oh, okay.
How much processed food do you eat in a normal day?
Maybe once per week.
How many main meals do you eat a day? Three.
3 months later, and after speaking to nearly 8,000 Singaporeans,
Rice and burgers.
the results are out. Respondents say on average, up to 30% of their meals every week would contain ultra-processed foods. Our top favourites? Chicken nuggets and fish balls. So how much do we really know about these two food items?
You know what is inside the chicken nugget? Chicken. How many percent of this is chicken meat? Yes. 50%? How much fish meat is in the fish ball? 70%. And the rest of it, the other 30%?
Starch, salt. Yeah, definitely.
What do you think is inside the chicken nugget?
Chicken inside, is it?
How many percent is chicken meat?
Bus,
80%. Then the rest is what? The other 20%. What about the fish ball? 也是80啊，你看一样80的。80-90%. What do you think is in the chicken nugget?
I'm guessing minced intestines, whatever, different parts of the chicken, yeah, all combined.
How much fish do you think is inside the fish ball?
5%. Below 20%.
Below 20%? Okay, and what is in the remaining fish ball?
Flour, salt.
We eat a lot of them, but everyone seems to have differing ideas on what's really in them.
So in my quest to improve our diets, I want to find out what's in our ultra-processed food. First up, fish balls.
There are more than 30 fishball manufacturers located in Singapore. Established in 1993, Bobo is one of the largest makers of fishballs in Singapore. In this factory, hundreds of thousands of fishballs are produced every day. They are packed and delivered to supermarkets, wet markets and eateries across the island.
So this is where we process the fish before we start to make the fish ball.
Which is the kind of fish that we have most in our fish balls?
This surimi paste is a frozen minced fish meat.
Okay, so it's kind of like minced fish.
Yes.
But what kind of fish is this?
This is itoyori or trapfin bream. It's a tropical fish.
Does it all have to be itoyori fish?
Yes.
Why is that?
One is the whiteness. You can see that the fish meat is very white. Secondly is the jaw strength of the fish. So the fish ball will be more bouncy. Then lastly is the taste. A lot of Singaporeans, they prefer the taste of the itoyori compared to other surimi. So this surimi is a common material that we use in fish ball, maybe more than 50% of fish ball uses this. And this is also commonly used for crab steak, cheese tofu, or fish cake.
But this paste that you have here, did you guys make it yourself or where
No.
is it from?
Usually they make this at the source after they fish for the fish. Just India, Vietnam, Malaysia, Thailand.
So your brand says you're made in Singapore, but yet some of the raw ingredients don't come from Singapore. So as a manufacturer, how can you be sure of what you're getting?
It's not that easy. We have to send it for a lab report to know the exact composition.
At Bobo, the amount of fish meat used in its fish balls can range from 50 to nearly 100%. This complies with regulations from the Singapore Food Agency, which states that fish balls sold in Singapore must contain at least 40% fish meat. The price, of course, differs accordingly. More fish, more costly. Starch, water, ice, and seasoning make up the rest of the fish ball. But the thing is, the minced fish meat surimi is manufactured overseas.
I can't be sure of how much of my surimi is actually itoyori fish, or if there is anything else that's been added to it. And there's no way I can really tell unless I head to the source.
So I'm headed to Vietnam to find out.
We've easily offloaded about 500 bags or more of fish in total, of which only about 10 to 12 of them are itoyori fish.
I've discovered that despite being labelled as a product of Singapore, our fish balls aren't entirely made in Singapore. The minced fish in it, known as surimi, is processed elsewhere.
Singapore imported 9,300 tons of surimi in 2018.
That's enough fish paste to make 1 billion fish balls. I'm making my way to Vietnam. One of the top 3 countries Singapore imports surimi from, to find out exactly what goes into it. With a coastline of 3,440 kilometers in length, fishery is one of the most important sources of income for Vietnam. In 2018, the production of surimi and fish balls alone contributed over $200 million to Vietnam's exports. I've arrived at Kiang Giang, a province that's a 6-hour drive from Ho Chi Minh City. Located in the Mekong Delta region of southern Vietnam, it is the heart of the country's fishing industry. This market sells fish freshly supplied from fishing wharves every day. I'm on the lookout for itoyori fish, the fish that goes into our fish balls.
Em có cá đồng.
Cá đồng vậy không?
Em có cá đồng không?
Có cá đồng đây.
These are itoyori fish.
Chị mua ở dưới cảng Tắc Cậu.
We are on our way to Tak Gao Wharf because we're told that this is one of the busiest wharves in Mekong Delta, and the fishing vessels generally come in between midnight and 5 a.m. every day. So we've just been told this boat's just come in a few minutes ago. In fact, very first few pieces of fish are being offloaded. Itoyori? Itoyori. Itoyori. This is a bag of Itoyori fish. So I picked it, he's probably got about another 20 bags of fish in there. So far, we've easily offloaded about 500 bags or more of fish in total, of which only about 10 to 12 of them are Itoyori fish. So if I do a quick math, it's about 2 bags out of every 100 bags of fish.
The total amount of Itoyori fish hauled today might appear massive, but according to these fish wholesalers, it's about 40% less than their catch about 3 years ago.
Giảm dữ lắm. Giảm cỡ 5-70%, cái bằng cỡ 40-50%.
Why do you think there are less fish?
Cứ cào đi tỉnh này tỉnh kia tỉnh nọ, rồi thành ra nó ít. Giờ cái là nói chung là ở dưới biển dùng hết cá luôn.
Do you think it'll get worse?
Cá giảm, càng về lâu sau này càng giảm chứ không có tăng đâu.
All wholesalers and fishermen I've spoken to tell me that the supply of Itoyori fish is on the decline. Since Vietnam opened its doors to foreign trade 30 years ago, fishermen increased their catch to boost profits from exports. This has resulted in less fish in Vietnamese waters. Some fishermen circumvent it by secretly fishing in foreign waters. But the government has been ramping up efforts to curb illegal fishing in recent years.
You know, fishing rules are a bit like football. They have yellow cards and they have red cards. Back in 2017, Vietnam was issued a warning from the EU over illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing. Seems some of their vessels were found to be fishing illegally in places like Malaysia and Indonesia. Now, if they were to get a red card, it would mean their seafood would be banned for export to the EU. So that's going to be very costly. And that's why the government is clamping down on fishing in illegal areas.
Overfishing and tighter regulations on fishing areas in foreign waters mean less Itoyori fish for us all. What does that mean for the production of surimi, the raw ingredient that goes into the fish balls that you and I eat?
So those fish look different. Can you tell what kind of fish are in it?
I'm in Vietnam, and I've discovered that the supply of Itoyori fish, which a lot of our fish balls are made up of, is plummeting. I wonder if that will affect the quality of fish balls that we eat. For some answers, I'm heading to Lý Chuan, a fishball and surimi factory located in My Tho City. About 70% of the surimi produced here will be exported to Singapore. General Manager Tan Han Wei has been overseeing production since 2015.
How many trucks are you expecting today?
Today we are expecting around 3 trucks.
Is that normal?
That's not normal for this period of time because in the past 2 years we are getting about 5 to 10 trucks every morning.
Right.
So we actually see drastic drops in terms of the supply.
So that's only 30% of what you used to get?
Yes.
So what's in this truck that has just come in?
So we are unloading the Itoyori now. These are all Itoyoris.
Those fish look different.
Yes. Over there you can see that the subsequent basket, they are actually mixed fish. There's no sorting and they just dump all the different kind of fish into the basket.
So is any
kind of fish. So there are 2 types of surimi. One type is pure Itoyori, and the other type is we are using this kind of mixed fish, and we call this the mixed surimi.
So which of these go to Singapore? Which kind of fish?
Mainly we are using Itoyori for Singapore.
After the fish are cleaned, the head and guts are removed, leaving behind only the fish meat for further processing into surimi.
Oh, it's very fast.
Yes.
Okay. cut off the head, and
Yeah. Well, you're doing pretty well.
so I can get a job here next time.
So we need to have 3 kilo of fish to make into 1 kilo of surimi. That is
Oh.
pure meat.
3 kilos to 1 kilo. Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
So we need a lot of fish just to make 1 kilo of surimi. So you
I've
can-
got a big one here.
Yes, this is quite big, and this kind of fish will actually allow us to make into a very good quality surimi. So you can compare, you can see that, I mean, we have fish of this size,
Yeah.
and the quality is really good, and we also have fish of this size. In terms of freshness, you can see that when you push it down, it will bounce back immediately. So this
Oh, yeah?
fish is actually a better quality fish that allow us to make a good surimi. But this one, they're actually coming from different pot and different fishing area. That's why you'll see a different kind of quality.
Wow. They're both the same type of fish, but actually,
Yes.
this guy should have been left in the sea to grow
Yes,
longer,
exactly.
right?
That's overfishing over here. In the past, we are having about 70% this size
Yeah.
of fish every day. But now we are getting 70% of this kind of fish every day.
That's a
We
lot
are-
more work, so they also have to...
Yes, they also have to actually remove the hair and the guts for this
Let
one.
me try cutting a
Yeah,
small
the-
one.
The small one is really hard.
It's almost, I feel like it's almost not worth the effort.
But I mean, we have to use every bit of fish that we have
Yeah.
because the supply is really low right now.
So with the supply of Itoyori fish dropping, it means it's going to cost more, right?
Yes.
How much more is it costing you?
It's costing me at least around more than 50% increase from the past 3 years.
Does that mean I'm going to have to pay more for my fish balls in the end?
Because fish ball and fish cake, crab steak, they are very common in Singapore. If we was to actually to increase the price, customer will just go to another supplier. For us, we control and manage the source. So we can actually reduce the cost by eliminating all the middlemen that other manufacturers are having to pay.
What do other manufacturers do to try and keep costs down?
So they will actually mix other kind of surimi into the Itoyori surimi to lower the cost.
Right.
Okay. The second part that they may be doing is to lower down the grade that they are using.
What do you mean by lower grade fish?
Lower grade is darker in color and less bouncy. The fish is not so fresh, so the final step that they may be doing will be actually to reduce the fish meat content. Okay,
Right.
they could be adding a bit more of water, they could be adding a bit more of the starch to lower down the cost.
As the supply of Itoyori fish continues to fall, this just means that my fish balls might have more mixed fish surimi in them. Fish that isn't as fresh or have even more starch than before. Does that mean my fish balls just got unhealthier? Well, I'm back home in Singapore, and I just bought a packet of fish balls.
So looking at the packaging, there's actually nothing to tell me about the type and proportion of fish that is being used.
I can't tell what I'm buying from the labels. Itoyori fish are supposed to make my fish balls whiter and bouncier. I wonder if that's really true, so I'm seeking the help of an expert. Jerome Lim manages Mingfa Fishball, a popular fishball brand. Today, I got Jerome to prepare a tasting session. He's making me 3 bowls of fishball soup, each containing different grades of fish balls. The first, fish balls made of almost 100% Itoyori surimi. That's close to no starch at all. Such fish balls are sold at a premium in other supermarkets, hawker centers, and eateries. Second, fish balls made of 40% Itoyori surimi and 60% starch. That's the lowest proportion of fish meat manufacturers can put in our fish balls to comply with regulations from the Singapore Food Agency. Lastly, fish balls made of 40% mixed fish surimi and 60% starch. You can hardly find these fish balls in Singapore, but Jerome managed to get some for us. As the supply of Itoyori fish dwindles, would these fish balls become the fish balls of our future? I've asked Jacqueline Roytons, a dietitian with over 10 years of experience, to join me on this tasting session, because I also want to know if fish balls with less fish or mixed fish are less healthy.
So there are 3 different types of fish ball. So I know one of them is 100% fish, right?
Yeah.
So the 100% fish that you're referring to is this one?
Oh, that one. Oh, can we try it?
Yeah.
As you would expect a fishball to taste. It is quite fluffy, quite bouncy.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, let's move on to the second bowl. This has 40%
Itoyori.
surimi,
Yeah.
itoyori. Okay. Definitely, texture is different.
Texture
More
is
chewy.
A bit
Not-
denser.
Then the color wise, you can see like the 100% is actually whiter.
Yeah.
This one is actually dour. If you were to move on to the next one,
Okay.
this one is actually 40% of not even itoyori surimi. They're actually mixed surimi. That means all the mixed fishes and 60% starch.
We don't know exactly what kind of fish.
Yeah, we do not know.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe you can try.
Ooh. Wow.
It-
It's a big difference.
Wow.
It's,
We've seriously downgraded from first class, business class. This is budget airline.
Budget airline.
The texture is very dense
Less starchy.
and starch. Yeah, the starch and
Yeah.
a bit more fishy, right? I mean, the
Yeah.
sense that you can
The
kind
smell,
of smell
yeah.
and taste
Correct.
the fishiness, not in a good way, but
And there's a fishy smell because different type of fish actually have different smell, you see. The lousier grade of fish actually have the stronger fish smell.
right. A bit more fishy, right?
Not only are these fish balls less tasty, they also contain more starch.
So having that much starch, is that bad for us?
the nutritional composition of the fish ball that contains more starch contains more carbohydrate than the fish balls that contain 100% of the itoyori surimi fish. The people who are diabetics, they need to watch their carbohydrate and starch intake. What I'm actually concerned about is what other additives are there inside the fish balls. As I was tasting it, I can taste the saltiness that actually does differ down here. I find that this is not as salty. I find these two rather salty.
For these two, right, to cover up for the starch, the higher content, they actually have to put flavor enhancer, MSG. That's one of the things that they have to put in.
So the MSG is the salt.
So the MSG is one of the types of salt that they might use inside, which is very high in sodium. So if you put it into context, one fish ball can have about 50 to 70 milligrams of sodium in one ball. If you're having about 5 to 7 balls at one time, you're getting close to maybe about 300 or 400 milligrams of sodium in just one meal. And put it into context for the entire day, you need about 2,000 milligrams of sodium a day. So just by eating a fish balls alone, you would have coughed up at least about 30-40% of your sodium requirement, which is significant.
So with the itoyori fish supply dwindling, does that mean we're going to be stuck with these kind of fish balls?
Yeah, because as of now, the industry don't really have a good substitute for the itoyori surimi because none other fish can actually have the same texture of the surimi, itoyori surimi. So maybe if that's the case, we'll have to fall back on the last two, the 40%.
Oh, really?
Yeah, then I think that will be a disaster. Yeah.
Oh no. Okay, thank you. It never occurred to me that fish balls as we know it, white, bouncy, full of natural flavors, could be harder to come by. Worse still, they may be full of salt and starch. I mean, take this bowl of noodles for example. I'd easily bust my daily salt intake just by eating this. Well, I guess that's something to think about the next time you enjoy your favorite fishball dish.